delegates doesn't reflect registered delegates. It's how many people you have sitting in the total number of chairs that you're good to vote with. It doesn't matter how they're registered for convention. You want to restart this after the you want to restart it on. Okay, we have 4 officers present, and now we're going to start the roll call that we got everybody in. CGRA.
6.
TGRA.
6.
GSGRA.
5.
AGRA.
6.
GPRA. Six, did you say? No, 5. Okay. MGRA.
5.
NMGRA.
5.
NSGRA.
4.
DSRA.
6.
ASGRA.
6.
NGRA.
5, I guess, is Jeffrey's
MGRA. Or MIGRA, I'm sorry. RRRA. UGRA.
2.
CRGRA.
3.
And ILGRA.
4. 5.
I'm sorry? Okay, 4. There are 81 voting delegates present at this time. If yours changes, just walk up here and let me know.
Just a couple of announcements. DSRA is having their annual Christmas raffle. See any DSRA member for details. Tomorrow morning at the first break, we would like to take a convention photo in the main hall on the main staircase by the lobby. And that'll be at in the first break. So dress up, look nice, and we'll get a photo. Now I'd like to call up Michael Gruman for community outreach and gender diversity. We're going to do the proposals first from the gender community outreach.
So we're looking at.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I didn't know if you want to go back to.
Yeah.
Joe. Yep.
1 second. I'm gonna go back. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Robert Purcell, we're going to finish off with your
Okay.
Try to. So Frank is going to be rodeo rules, and we're going back to number 07.
RR07, thank you.
Frank, if you could slowly scroll from the top to the bottom, there you go. Just a nice slow roll, please.
Thank you.
If it's self-explanatory, don't say it.
Don't say anything.
Unless it is.
I want people to understand why.
That's what the committee did that, right?
This is the bottom of the,
So the discussion.
Jeremy, is that all of it?
All right, any discussion on the proposal? Rodeo rules 07.
Go back down to the top.
That's the
Scroll,
bottom.
we want to go to the top, Frank, if you don't mind. Any discussion? Table 9. Oh, Table 9, hold your, Charlie Colella.
So in D, this is per rodeo, all around cowboy and cowgirl based on world points, not total points for that rodeo.
That is correct.
Wow.
Table 3.
David Lawson, IGRA. I would speak against this just because it's not fully fleshed out, and I would encourage everybody just before we get real deep into this discussion and take an extra 3 hours that we already did yesterday, just maybe consider voting this down and let us bring it back at a later time.
Any further discussion?
One moment, please. What is that? Okay, so can I, you can speak? Yeah. Speak. Thanks. Just for a little clarification here when you're thinking about this or looking at this. The way the system was before, how we decided finals, season champ, all around cowboy, cowgirl, this puts everything in line that at each rodeo, it's figured the same way. Whether this is the right way or not, it was done this way so that everything is consistent throughout individual rodeos, finals rodeos, season champions. That's why it's there.
Any further discussion? Table 11.
Guy Producy, NGRA. In my opinion, this is a band-aid to fix a problem that doesn't necessarily need to exist with our technology at present. This could cause significant problems for us prior to the next rodeo. And I agree with David, it needs to go back to it and be reworked so that it either accomplishes what we want to accomplish or leave the rule as it is. We keep making changes to this all around our point calculation, and all it's doing is making it worse.
Any further discussion? Table 10.
I have Michael Lentz, Atlantic States Rodeo Association. I have a question for the rodeo rules folks. I'm not familiar with the logic here, but it looks to me like you are putting emphasis on all-round championship being based on events that have higher participation. So you're basically saying the value of a rough stock rider is basically nothing, and the value of a person who is competing in a busy horse rodeo is very high, or doing camp events. So it basically says, if you're a camp event champion, then you become an all-round cowboy, cowgirl in every rodeo, and there's no value, a very diminished value of participating in rough stock events. Is my perception way off, or?
Yeah.
Because it's money, you're gonna have money where you have more contestants, and you're gonna have more contestants based on the pattern of participation in events at rodeo. Okay, thank you.
In answer to whether you're way off, yes, no, I mean, it's your interpretation of it, and equally it can go, one way or the other.
Table 12,
I'm not familiar structurally with how this would change the process, but I don't think it fully makes grammatical sense, because point E says all around points are equal for all events and awarded for performance to the first 8 places as follows, referring to points for events. And then below we see first place, or X place equals X points, and then we also get the plus personally. So I don't know if it could be reworded, or if the revision is necessary and just needs to be structured, but I think it could be approved overall.
table 3,
Does anyone else want to speak?
David Lawson, IGRA, also member of the committee, reminding, once again, please vote this down and let us redo it before we talk about it for a great big long time, and then vote it down anyway.
table 10. Table 10. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. No. Motion fails.
Good job.
Frank, now we need SR01, please. SR01, it's at the bottom of that list, the home list, right at the bottom. Way down the bottom, SR01. There you go, thank you. Is there discussion? Table 16.
Emily, Allison, Illinois, Bailey. So first off, this is grammatical, where it says rule XB, if it's international. That should be international. That's all.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. No. Motion.
No, try it again. Call the vote again.
Hang on.
Don't beat him up.
Don't beat me up yet. We'll do a hand.
We'll do a stand.
We'll do a standing vote. If I can get my helpers up here. For a standing vote. All those in favor.
Wait, I don't have another.
Oh.
Let's take it to starts.
Tommy? All right. All those in favor, please rise. All those in favor of SR01, please rise.
Let's give them a minute to rise. Okay.
And if I could ask you to just stand quietly so we can get a good count here.
Is anybody up here standing in favor of this? Does it really matter? Because if we keep going
Are we voting up here?
Yes or no, raise your hand. Yes or no.
Nobody's voting no.
I got 40. Okay, I'll put both those down, all right? You can, yeah, next.
You may be seated. All those voting against, please rise. Voting against now, please rise on SR01. Yeah, you can be seated, I'm sorry. By a count of 40 to 35, the motion fails. This motion, SR01, fails. Because it's a two-thirds vote. Okay, Robert, what else do we got?
That concludes Rotary rules.
Nice.
Thank you, Robert. All right, next up, we have community outreach and gender diversity. Michael Vernon, please.
Yeah, we're gonna go to those 3 proposals.
We have 3 proposals here for you today.
We're gonna start with COFR1.
Starting with CFOR1. Is it in the report?
Nothing's voted on the script.
COFR1, 2, and 3, I believe.
If they're not voted on the script.
Okay, they're not loaded on the server. We'll come back to this.
They're not voted on, I didn't get the proposal, I only got the report.
So
Yeah.
you should have got the first 2 because they were sent out in the packet originally. So those 2 should have been there.
Well, they're not technically.
We'll come back.
Thank you.
Kick to the curb.
Again.
We're going to move budget to a later time at the request of the treasurer. Next up, public relations.
If you make a small announcement, maybe all the committee chairs, please check and see if all our stuff is out.
Okay. And then an announcement from the, from Benjamin. Committee chairs, can you go and check to make sure that your proposals, if they exist, are listed in the list of proposals, please. And at this time, I'd like to ask Mary and Andy Sakinen to step forward for public relations. As you know, Mary's been our public relations for quite some time. Andy took her role when she could not attend the meeting tomorrow. So I'd like them both to be here today for the report.
Thank you, Brian. The report is pretty simple. We have no actionable items, but we did discuss that IGRA created a media contract regarding the videoing. So just kind of a recommendation for associations to think about media contracts for their own rodeos, just to help with making sure they have access to the materials that have been gathered and control who and what is like in the arena and photographing or photographing and videoing the events. Yeah, that's all. So if you have any questions.
Anybody got any questions?
That was just a verbal report. Any questions for PR? I'll just make a real quick comment. We get a lot of public relations kind of interest from Europe. I don't know what's caused this, but we get all kinds of European interest in our association. So, yeah, oh, yeah, the billboard in Germany with a horrible picture of me. Thank you both. Chuck, are you ready for marketing?
No, you gotta fix my report.
Okay, we'll move on. Nominating Ron Trusley.
Yeah, I don't think you need to read the report. You could see it on screen. But I would just point out that so far nominations that have been received, as you know, we will be electing treasurer and president for 2-year terms starting in January. And so far, David Hill has been nominated for treasurer. Brian Helander and Chris Tobin have been nominated for president. And so with that, I would like to ask if there are further nominations for treasurer. Okay. All right, seeing none. Are there further nominations for president? Okay, on the ballots tomorrow, we still will vote by ballot. So David Hill's name will be for treasurer, Brian Helander and Chris Tobin for president. Thank you.
I'd like to ask Chris Tobin to come forward and talk to us about World Gay Rodeo Files 2024.
I would also like to ask Mark Christensen to please come up. The World Gay Rodeo Finals 2024 committee met just before we reconvened directly after lunch. We discussed the successes and the opportunities that we faced with World Gay Rodeo Finals 2024. And I would like to turn it over to Mark to talk about the financial success of it.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you if you went to World Gay Finals. We went and we had a net profit of $31,650, and that included $12,000 just in beverage sales, gang. Oh. And we had 446 tickets sold to World Gay Finals.
So that also includes the 2-day tickets, so we don't have an exact gate number, but we do also want to sincerely thank the efforts of our Alumni Foundation. Thank you, Mark, for everything that you do with us. Thank you to the entire committee, and especially thank you to Michael Vrooman, who has put on one of the greatest productions for the royalty show, or royalty competition. Thank you.
Tell them we're working on it.
Yeah. Many of you were in the WGRF 2025 meeting. There's no announcement about that at this point. I do want to report to you that at the board meeting on Thursday, the board made a decision to sign a contract with the Canadian Equestrian Center in El Reno, Oklahoma, for the next 5 years. This is a tremendous opportunity for us to, because we can get the liquor sales. I call it the holy grail of World Gay Rodeo Finals. We've never been able to do that with World Gay Rodeo Finals to my knowledge. But it's the kind of facility and opportunity, getting the liquor sales, knowing how much y'all drink, to make a lot of money, and also grow the event, and have efficiencies. And there's so many pluses to this new opportunity that came our way, so we took advantage of that, and we'll be there for a 5-year period of time. So
Starting in 2026.
Starting in 2026, absolutely. Yeah, did I not make that clear? We're going to be in Reno, Nevada in 2025, and starting in 26, 5-year contract for El Reno, Oklahoma.
We're locked into a contract for 5 years in this facility, no outs whatsoever. Is that what I understand? So, the reason I'm asking this is, why, yeah, wait for the mic.
Let me just ask you a question. Why is, this was not brought, this is my first hearing, but I knew there was rumors this was happening. I didn't know the vote took place on Thursday. We did not hear an opinion or a say something on this. So you're taking the advantage of us driving ourselves in Denver is trying to produce our rodeo to be able to produce World Gay Finals within the next 2 years. That was our goal. That's one of the things I said when I stepped in as president. So now I've been taken out of that because there was a vote to do the 5-year contract there. It's to me, everything that I've heard from people outside of our organization do not want to go to El Reno because it is so far out. Contestants, they do. I'm saying to get more people going in, I'm just giving my opinion and where we stand.
Thank you. Table 10.
Michael Lentz, Atlantic State Association. I'd like to address that comment. I did vote to support as a trustee for the 5-year contract based on the desire to have some stability and planning ahead. Something that's important that hasn't been reported, I think, is that there is an escape clause in this contract. So if we get a out of the blue or organic proposal to do something that's blow your socks off, we have the ability to escape that contract. So the contract is actually very good for us, and then it gives us a lot of things we want, but it doesn't force us to go to that site all 5 years. We have the protection, price guarantees, which is good for us. We have a guaranteed location, and we have the history and ability to create a good rodeo there. But if we find a place to have a super good rodeo somewhere else, we have the ability to pounce on that. There's a slight penalty, but if someone walked in and said, we'll give you $500,000 to come to Denver, we would pay the couple $1,000 penalty and take the $500,000.
Thank you. Next up is women's outreach. Cami, are you ready for women's outreach? Come on up, Shani. Do we have the women's outreach report?
Should have been an email from our women. Our women.
Well, we're sorting this out again. Committee chairs, if you could please check to make sure that your reports and proposals have been submitted. Please. Okay. So Cammy, we'll come back to you. We'll sort it out and we'll come back to you. At this time, I'd like to call Chuck Browning to Chuck Browning out for the marketing report.
Can you guys pull the marketing report up?
Must go together, which is a shooting.
The committee report? Thank you, sir. Okay, so the marketing committee met on Friday, November 15th at 2 o'clock. Kind of had a room with the social media and also PR. We had 15 attendees from associations, all were voting members. And I'd like to thank the 15 attendees for their energy and enthusiasm. During the committee discussion, we had a great discussion. Several topics were discussed, and in the report are a few. Let me go over those. We scroll down a little bit on the report. One of them was generating a pool of media content creators to assist in providing content for social media and websites. So that's going to be a goal for next year. Review our logo page with the intent to streamline the options and convert to vector format. It seems we're a little outdated there. We may have too many options, so we're going to look at that. There's also mentioning possibility of creating some new logos just for some revived energy, so we may consider that as well. Media, photography, and video was discussed at our rodeos, and this year at finals, we did come up with a media pass contract for photographers or videographers that were interested in videoing or photographing our events. Main thing is that we want to ensure at finals that we have that commitment with Frank Harrell as our videographer for years. So what we did at finals is we built upon that with the live streaming, the second year we've done that. He incorporated the help of several people, Andy Sakinen, Chris Tobin, and Sebastian Matthews helped him with that. If you had a chance to look at it, I encourage you to do so. It was incredible. It gives us the capability to tie, yes, please. It gives us the capability to tie into our sponsorships because our sponsors are looking for how we're spreading and penetrating out the word of our sponsors. So another great opportunity there. We may have the ability to do commercials. We want to incorporate interviews. And thanks for pulling up an example if you guys want to see one of those. It is on YouTube. The quality of our banners, the placement of the banners, or in the left-hand corner, lower corner, you see the sponsor logos. They're able to jump from different cameras, almost like ESPN. And what was really amazing is they're able to tie in with the announcer, with Trey, who did an incredible job. So again, just a big hand of applause to those guys for everything that they did and will do. One thing to do with your photographers is put the guardrails in to clarify where they can be and they can't be. Make sure they're not interrupting with your rodeo and your event. The other thing is in your contract, make sure that you consider getting an agreement to where you get access to that content so you can use that for promoting your rodeos. So just some suggestions there. We did have 2 bylaw proposals that were reviewed and approved and attached to this report. So if we can close the report down and go to the first MKT01. This is the marketing committee, and these are just kind of clarifying some of these duties that are listed under there. So I'll give you a second to read through that.
Table 11.
That you got. Table 11.
Just a question on number 4. The committee would need to approve the use of the IGRA logo, or would the marketing director approve that? And do you have anticipated turnaround times for such use? And I'll give you an example. The PGA softball World Series was in Las Vegas. I made a banner, I put the Vatican logo on it, Bighorn logo on it, IGRA logo on it to, give us some exposure and whatnot. And I think that I was out of line if I read this, because it wasn't really promoting it. It mentioned Bighorn Rodeo. We were promoting Bighorn Rodeo, but is that usual and customary? Do you have any other guidelines of what's usual and customary, and how do we go about getting it approved?
It's a great question, and thank you for promoting IGRA, by the way, first and foremost. But yes, you are correct. In that case, if you read this, it's your use of our rodeo associations or member associations that are marketing their events that are IGRA sanctioned, of course, automatically should be including the IGRA logo. That piece is in there. So if there's anything outside of that that you want to participate in, that you want to include that in, a simple email to the chair, they'll give you the approval on it. There shouldn't be any issue at all. Thanks, Doug.
Any further discussion on the proposal? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Proposal passes.
And can we go to MKT02, please? This is a new committee.
And have asked Chuck to make a comment on this.
Yeah, so currently the sponsorship chair is more of an ad hoc committee. What we want to do is bring it into a formalized committee. What Charlie and I have been able to establish, not only last year but this year, is how these two interact and how important they are. As far as getting sponsorships, they want to know how we're marketing them as being sponsors of those events. So this is simply adding that in as a committee. Standing committee.
Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. And the proposal passes.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck, and thank you for all your great marketing this year. Really appreciate it. All right. Okey-dokey. Do we have association presidents? That was, yep, Chili Pepper.
everybody, or afternoon. We had 10 presidents or vice presidents sitting in on the meeting. We were discussing ways that we can get new members and keep the members that we do have. We talked about mentoring them when they join our association and putting them, giving them assignments or committees to be on, and making sure that they have work to do so that they are not ignored. A lot of times people come to our meetings and they're immediately like welcomed, but then it's kind of like they disappear. We as member associations kind of started talking about how we receive money and how we're making money for when they pay for dues. And in my association, we use Zephy because they don't charge us fees. We're like Apple and some of those Square charge us fees for doing that. And you can use QR codes to get them to join your association. I think it was Anthony that says that he actually has a QR code when he goes out to the bars and he gives it to them, and it has the QR code for their association and a QR code for information on becoming a member. So that's a great way for us when we're out and about to create more membership for our whole organization as a whole. We're also talking about especially places that didn't even know they had court systems. We were informing other associations that to utilize your court system, because they're an integral part of the beginning of IGRA. They may not know it, but by getting the court involved, you can have more entertainers and probably future royalty to help your association. Butch mentioned that we needed to have a digital footprint for most of the associations. He said a lot of times when you take over as an officer, and I said that's exactly what happened to me when I took over IGRA, was there was no paper trail behind me. So basically it was empty boxes. So it's good for us to have hard drives to keep all of our records so that when you pass it or if someone passes away, you can just grab that hard drive, and if you're the next person replacing that officer, you can be right on target with what was gone, what was discussed in the past, and what direction the company is going to. So I would always recommend that each association start using these hard drives because they're really helpful for us. We also wanted to create a Teams and a Facebook page for chapter presidents that we can use to communicate with each other. That can help us out a lot and help us problem solve. And sometimes the two heads are better than one, and especially for associations that are combining their efforts. Like I know sometimes our association helps North Star with their rodeo. So by doing that, we can communicate quicker, and using Teams and Facebook can help us work together and create more energy for our association. IGRA talked about doing their local play day to get new members to become contestants. So that gave a lot of other people kind of ideas, hey, that we can do that too. And we also gave Colorado and especially John Beck kudos for the many, many years that he's done gymkhanas. So a lot of associations that don't do gymkhanas, that might be another way for you to get more people involved in your rodeo associations. These skills are great. One of the things that IGRA did is they used Google Forms to get their contestants to pre-register, so that it became a money-making event and helped cover the cost of doing their event before they did it. So that's kind of what we discussed in our meeting. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And thank you all for attending. Thank you.
Table 4.
I'd like to ask that you tell us a bit more about
Zephy? Zephy? Presidents. Which subject, what subject was it? They're using the
the fourth paragraph from the bottom, dealing with requesting organization pay for work and officers' work and possibly using minutes for interpretations. I'm not understanding what you're wanting from
Oh, the association's just making sure that you keep your, like, when we do a meeting, instead of people writing, like, I mean, when I got our stuff, a lot of stuff was bar napkins and stuff like that, even it didn't have who attended the meetings. And then Texas was talking about the same thing at his association. So by keeping a digital record of your, and it's probably something you guys are already doing in Arizona.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right, so by doing that, by having that. Sure.
The report that's on the screen is not the report we're talking about.
Oh.
Okay, so Frank, if you don't mind, you can take that one down and you can go to.
The digital footprint, yeah.
It's not on the server, it's the one that was just up a few minutes ago.
Oh.
It was the Word document.
It was the Word document that I
Not
sent.
that one.
Presidents.
No,
Nope.
that's not it.
Nope.
That's not it.
No, president's meeting, it says.
Please check your committee folders and make sure your documents are in your folder.
Hey.
Okay, again, the fourth paragraph from the bottom, the way that worded, to me, it made it sound like you're requesting associations give you this work.
Oh, no, that's just to keep for their own paper, for their own association, I'm sorry if that's worded.
Every association should be good.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Some people, when they don't discover until, and this is what we discovered in the meeting, is some people, when they get the office, all of a sudden realize that the people ahead of them or behind them did not keep those records. So that's why we talked about, as a recommendation to everybody in the room, to start keeping a digital footprint. So it makes it easier for transitioning from officer to officer. Sorry if that got it confused you. But, thank you.
Any other questions for Chief? Gene?
You just want to make sure that either Chili emailed me this or the people on the files over there put it in the folder.
Okay. Fabulous. All right. Makes sense. Thank you. Let's see.
Membership Standing Committee, there were no membership standing issues this year. Animal Welfare, Stephanie. Is Animal Welfare. Animal Advocacy, I'm sorry.
Whatever you want to call me, it's fine. I'm gonna bring that microphone to little people status.
You can just summarize your report.
First, I wanted to thank all of the members that came to the meeting. From last year to this year, there was a big change in attendance, so thank you very much. The team met and discussed concerns throughout the 24 rodeo season. One area of concern was the inconsistency size of stock, especially in camp and shoot dogging across the season. Another area of concern was having someone at each rodeo to discuss welfare concerns, if there were any. The committee is proposing an amendment to Rodeo Rule 7 to bring to the conference floor to add a name to the posting board of an individual from the Animal Welfare Committee to address concerns during the rodeo should they arise. Something that the team would like to suggest to next year's president is to find a committee chairperson with stronger knowledge in bovine and equine health and safety to better understand and know what concerns should be brought to the attention of the rodeo directors. Brian, this was not from me, this was from the committee, just FYI. Respectfully submitted, Stephanie. You could please bring up AW01.
Frank, are you able to bring up what is it?
AWO1.
AWO1.
If I can get off of this board, please. I hate being up here. My 2-year commitment is over.
Any discussion on AWO1, the proposal? I see table 2. One second, keep them up. Yeah, I got table 2, 9, 3, 13, 4. All right, table
Tim Smith with TGRA. I guess I'm not sure exactly what, I guess, where I would be is when you say animal welfare at a rodeo, in what area of welfare it would be, because you have several different already in place that would handle that. As an arena director or a shoot coordinator, we already have procedures and stuff in place, as well as the rodeo directors that we go over. So, but I'm not sure what it is, but same as in the barn. You have the barn manager, all the members are on the stalls, correct? As contestants, your phone number on the stall. They would then call them, but I'm not sure what level of animal welfare this is actually referring to.
So in the committee meeting, there was an incident that happened at a rodeo where there was a horse that was kicking and kicking and kicking and kicking, and the stall came down and could have potentially hurt an animal, contestant, child, dog, what have you. They contacted the contestant, they contacted the barn manager, and nothing was solved. So they're wondering what would be the next step, and they thought maybe that this team or this committee would be that person.
table 3.
And it's again just your, yeah, I was reading it maybe as being like concern from the public, but just the details of it, who would pick this person and what pool of people would it be pulled from?
Table 9.
Charles Fidelity, sorry. So, to kind of add on what Tim was saying, we already have enough officials to look at this stuff. Procedures that have, in regards to contestant liaison, I think all of this would fall in place to those, where you would contact your trustee, like in the example you gave Stephanie with that horse. We have certified officials, the liaisons are involved. I don't think we need to add another layer on top of that. We already have people in place to do this. And they just need to be engaged properly, is all.
Table 13.
I'm good. Everything's going good.
Table 4.
Everything's been said.
Is there any further? Table 3.
David Lawson, GSGRA. Another thing to consider if you're posting somebody's name as far as animal welfare is when a PETA type person shows up, is that person a target at one of those protester type people, because that's who I can get. And if that person answers one thing just a little bit wrong, that's where the weakness comes in. And then another consideration, I have been on the glaring end of, ooh, this person, abuses his horse because he whips it when he's running home. And is that actually an animal welfare issue, or is that just a perceived issue within our association? So I think this is like opening up a whole can of worms that maybe some people are using this, or potentially using a position like this to get at somebody that they don't like, rather than being a true animal welfare issue.
Table 6.
Sean Schaefer, GRA.
and I was on the animal welfare committee. I have a question for those of you who were talking about, we already have all these things in place under other aspects. Then what is the animal welfare committee supposed to handle?
Is there any further discussion? Table 7.
Travis James, IGRA. One thing that this completely doesn't spell out is their responsibilities and what they would be responsible for. Animal welfare is a broad item. This doesn't spell out what they're going to be responsible for or how they would handle those situations, which means, in essence, we're just adding somebody and we're not giving them what their job description should be.
Table 9.
In regards to your question about what animal welfare is, I believe from a long time ago, this was in our mission statement as well. More had to do with the treatment of the stock in the rodeo. We don't use hot shots. And contestants can't abuse the animals. I think that's where this was more geared to. And like David said, we're kind of going down a rabbit hole now. This is going to apply, which it should apply in a way to, the horses and all that. But I believe that's where this initially came from, is the treatment of our stock.
Table 6.
All right, this is my Angela from IGRA. This might get the wrong person, I don't know. Having been a one-time rodeo director, I've had conversations with people in this room. I lean on the people I know that I trust that can give me answers. I'm not saying any of these people were involved in that. We had a situation in our rodeo. We tried going to people that would answer our questions, and they weren't answered. That's why this has been brought to the floor. So if you guys have, I was not well trained in my position. I'll freely admit it. I had to learn on the fly. I went to people I trusted. I asked the questions. New rodeo directors, if you've got one, if you see one, reach out to them. Maybe they don't know the answers to these kind of questions. They don't have the leadership that a lot of you have, the knowledge a lot of you know. I think that's what we're trying to get to, is getting the knowledge that we need. Because I didn't know if anything happened at my rodeo in Sedalia that I needed to do this. So I think that's what we're asking with this. If we don't do this, can we at least, guys, just reach out to your new rodeo directors, help train them. Because maybe they're not getting the training they need.
Table 4.
Trustee Jerry, I'd just like to point out to everybody that Article 12 in our bylaws for committees has 2 responsibilities for the animal welfare committee listed. One, report on disease outbreaks that affect IGRA rodeos, investigate and report on animal injuries. So their duties are outlined already, and it's not this.
Table 10.
Motion to call the question.
Table 15.
You need to respond.
Oh, I'm sorry. We still have time, Jonathan, so we're not able to do that at this time. Table 15.
Chuck Brown, IGRA. I'm trying to be open-minded here, and I'm trying to really figure out what is of concern, because we have a committee, and it sounds to me like the committee isn't getting any information. We have in the bylaws a couple of descriptors of what they're supposed to do, but if we're having issues in the rodeo during the arena, and this is under association requirements, then the association's having a rodeo, and as Angela stated, they're going to have to find somebody to put a name on here, and may not know who that should be. But we obviously, if the animal welfare committee is not getting detail about some of these animal issues that are happening, then we're failing. We're failing that committee because we're not giving you the information. So we've got the stuff in the bylaws, and if this is a simple solution, what's the problem? If most of the posting boards are not in public view. Most of them are in the contested secure area. So this individual, if that's the individual for a contestant or a volunteer maybe, or somebody who say, hey, I saw this happening, or, you know, hey, it looks like they just took the horns of the steer and squirted blood out. You know, those are things that we need to be aware of. And if it's not getting to this animal welfare committee, is this potentially helpful? Then I support it.
10 minutes has expired. All those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. No. And motion fails. Thank you, Stephanie. I believe now we're going to go back to community outreach and gender diversity. Make sure it comes up here.
Looky there.
So we'll do your report first. And then
We're going to start.
start. We're going to go to the proposals first, Frank. So if you can go, leave the report and go to COFR 101. Any discussion on this proposal? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Frank, can we now go to 02? That's the only change that you're seeing here in the bold. Is there any discussion on this proposal? Table 4.
Okay, we had a 3-day window. Guys, I don't know why we're putting a 3-day window up here on this, because if you got 45 days prior to the competition, 45 days, you should have everything in place. And all you're doing when you're doing that 3-day window is just opening up a big can of worms again, like we've had before. Just keep it. You can keep the 45 days, but that 3-day window, we don't need that 3-day window.
Table 5.
Just to speak to it, so this isn't saying you have extra time to turn it in, it's saying that you have time for them to receive the application. So you still have 45 days, but if it's stuck in the mail and they get it after the 45 days, it's just accounting for reasons of the check that was gotten in the mail. There's 3 contestants this year that this affected.
Table 8.
And again, Brennan from Northford area. Again, this is at the discretion of the vice president. So if there are extenuating circumstances, it's all at Michael or whoever the other vice president's discretion. So whether it's a life circumstance or death or stuck in the mail or bank holiday, that's really what we're talking about.
Table 7.
It's not a guarantee.
So, is somebody who has worked through this process, Travis James and IGRA. One of the concerns with doing this is if they're playing favoritism. Now you've got, not saying that somebody's going to, but there is that possibility. If we're going to be more concerned about it being stuck in the mail, how about it be postmarked by the date? As long as it's postmarked by the date, then we should be okay.
Table 11.
Andrew Goodman, Nevada Rodeo Association.
Part of the discussion from being in this committee was that this changing the 45 days, separate from the 3-day window, allows for potential royalty competitors to attend one more rodeo in the year before they have to submit their paperwork. So it would include enough time for them to be a part of the Santa Fe Rodeo and maybe complete the requirements of their association with a little bit more grace. I also think that we should have enough integrity in the people who are leading us to let them make important decisions like this in the privacy of the conversation with the person who it affects and the people from that association. I don't know that it is for this group to decide what is an unusual life circumstance. I think it just depends, and we hope that never happens, but we know it when we see it. So I put my faith in the integrity of our elected leaders.
Is that table 2, yes or no? Is it or isn't it? Table 2.
Figure it out. Mary Ann, Texas. I have a question. Can we separate these 2 changes to be separate motions? So like 45 days is one, and then the 3-day window could be another one?
It's all, if it's possible to, if anyone made that motion, it's possible to. You can
It is possible to do that, Mary. We would need a motion in a second.
I make a motion to separate those.
I second.
Motion and seconded that we separate the 2 within the proposal, the 45-day element from the 3-day window element. Yeah. All in favor of separating the items, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. We'll separate the elements. Now, voting on the 45-day element. Is there any discussion? Any discussion on the 45 days? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. No. Motion carries. Now, voting on the second element of this proposal. Is there discussion? Hang on, the chair would like to make a comment.
So this particular issue with the 3-day thing affected 4 contestants this year. One was a banking holiday issue. 3 of them were because their association officials did not get their items in on time, even though the contestants did do their requirements in time. So it wasn't necessarily fair to penalize the contestants because some of their organizations didn't do that. And that those allowances, we talked about that at our executive board meeting, but those did fall in a 3-day window. So that's where this little grace element has been put in. That's the reason behind this.
Frank, if you can refresh, please, and we'll go to table 11. Table. Guy? Oh, where'd he go? Frank, if you can go to 2, please. There you go. Okay, Guy, you're up.
Guy Puglisi, IGRA. I just feel like the way this is worded, it paints us into a red corner. I feel like it would be better if it just said an extension may be granted at the discretion of the vice president due to circumstances beyond the contestant's control.
Second.
So Guy, I'm assuming you're making a motion, is that correct?
I made a motion to amend.
And I second.
Okay, so it's moved and seconded that we delete. Hang on one second.
We're gonna need him to tell us what he said. So slowly have him say what he says.
Guy, if you could slowly repeat your motion so that we can.
I will do my best. An extension may be granted by the Vice President.
Stop there. Carry on.
Due to circumstances beyond the contestant's control. Period.
So now okay.
Refresh. Go ahead and refresh, Frank, please. Okay. What's that? Guy, can you read your amendment and confirm that it's correct, please?
Sure.
Discussion on the amendment as you see it now. Table 6. Table 6.
Angela and IGRA, I'm probably not going to be real popular with this comment. I'm past Black Sash. I've been involved since 2008, 2009. I'm a grown woman. My association can tell you I'm not responsible. I forget things. But I stayed on my board to make sure my stuff is turned in on time. If I want to compete, I need to make sure my stuff is done and get it done and get it turned in the time allotted. I was able to do that. Many of the people I competed against at International has done it. Many people before me have done it. We keep letting up on what needs to be done. You know, I had Gene Price, I had Andrew Goodman, making sure I did what I was required. But you know what? I did it for myself. I didn't depend on anybody else to do it. I made sure it's on my phone because I'm a grown adult that should be doing that.
Table 2.
No, Tim Smith, TGI. So, in this program, there's a lot of back into it. So as a trustee, I have to sign off. You have to get a treasurer that has to do the financials to it. If I'm not available, or I couldn't be there for whatever reason, death in the family, or I'm not to have anything, then that's not fair to the contestant. That it's not their fault at all. So it covers stuff like that. It's not a way to get out of doing it. It's a way to help them get there because it was not their fault.
Table 10. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion on the amendment as displayed? Table. Any discussion? Yes or no? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The motion passes. Okay. Hang on one second. Just to be clear, the 45 days has been passed. I thought we were discussing. So we have one more step here to go before we're finished with this amendment, and that is to pass the amendment now. So now, is there any discussion, further discussion on the amendment as displayed? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. And the amendment passes. Thank you all. Don't close that yet, Frank. We just need to do a little cleanup here. Hang on.
Everyone could refresh that. That's what just passed.
And that's what your new amendment is, right there.
This whole thing is just passed.
All right, moving on now to the next amendment, or the next proposal, rather. Frank, if you can pull up 03. Any discussion on the proposal? Any discussion? 7, table 7.
Travis James at IGRA. I understand the purpose behind this, but I think it leaves it too broad and open, because if you remove current and official, there's a concern. I would take past royalty member, it doesn't restrict me from ever running again, in skipping, doing everything at the state level all over again. I think if we specify it out as the current or previous year, I think that would then suffice those that have maybe a 2 or 3 year process and not overrating both sides to do that. And so that would be a motion that I would make to amend this.
Table 2.
Just Ms. TG, all right, here we are. I'm at that drop of beats right now. So the intent of this is technically, so if there was somebody in here, they had their right before finals, 4 months before finals, they stepped down, they're not the current rating, they technically would not be eligible to compete. So this gets rid of that, or you can reign all year for your association and then let them step down and let them go compete, represent the next title at IGRA, is what this really is. But official title holder, we can appoint if we want as associations. That's up to us and our models. So up to IGRA to govern that.
Table 10. Nope, no table 2. Any further discussion? All in favor of the proposal, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Proposal passes. Now, Frank, if you'd pull up the report, please, at this time.
Right. All right, and then we're going to discuss, along with these proposals, fundraising ideas regarding entertainment competitions, new royalty mentoring, current royalty mentoring and development were discussed. We discussed, included with the community outreach, royalty, and gender diversity, our new category of, currently we've been pronouncing it as MX. However, after consulting, and this is important, please, after consulting with our own current representatives who are now in the title, and conducting research across multiple communities, while a couple pronunciations of this term are used, the preferred pronunciation that we found mostly, and especially from our own representation, is mix, is how it is chosen to be pronounced. So,
yeah. The report is not on the screen.
Sorry.
The report.
And if you just scroll down, I'm kind of in the middle there. There we go. regarding the pronunciation. So spelled out, so you can see the term mix, M-I-X, using phonetics. So moving forward, the royalty program will be more diligent in recognizing the requested pronunciation. So mix. Emails are gathered from the attendees with the intent of joining in on future Zoom/video meetings to further discuss gender diversity as it relates not only to the royalty program now that we have mix implemented in as we're currently using and finding new members of our communities wanting to run for other titles as well. How that relates to our royalty program, but not just within our program, but within our organization as a whole. So we'll continue those discussions. Jonathan Roman discussed and explained, because we were in community outreach and this topic is part of community outreach, the Tom Devlin Rodeo School Scholarship Program, which is currently a program already in use, established through the assistance of his member organization IGRA that offers scholarships to IGRA-sanctioned rodeo school contestants that have not yet competed in an IGRA-sanctioned rodeo. We want to thank, well, first we tabled the discussion because we weren't quite sure where we needed to go with that, what direction we needed to take, and the avenues for implementation, because it was something that really didn't have much of a precedence as of yet, but we knew there was programs initially that were started in a certain way and what was the result. So we took it to Benjamin Avant and the bylaws committees for their clarity and feedback, and the result of that was a collaboration creating a resolution to establish the Tom Devlin Rodeo School Scholarship within the organization as a working element to get it in. We'll pull up the attached resolution if we may, and once we read through this, the committee submits the attached resolution recommending the establishment through this resolution of the Tom Devlin Rodeo School Scholarship Program. So we'll go to the resolution.
I'm going to ask Benjamin to just explain about a resolution, what we're doing here.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, in our bylaws committee yesterday, the question came up about what's the difference between proposals, changes, amendments, and resolutions. This is an example of a resolution, so maybe a little clarity just for anybody who might want some. Resolution, so this is being presented by the Community Outreach Fundraising Committee to the floor with adoption for recommendation, as I understand it. So if this resolution is passed, it's indicating the will of this body. So as you look at this, and we've done these in the past, but it's not as common, so I want to make sure that it is clear. This is, if passed as it is, or with the amendments, because it can be amended if need be, but this is what would represent the will of this body. In the past, we've used resolutions to, for example, create the IGRA Hall of Fame before it entered into the bylaws. We've used resolutions when we changed officers' terms from 1 year to 2 years. The bylaw change was 2 years, and we got a resolution to say how that would be implemented. You know, these officers are elected in even years versus odd years. So basically, it's just instructions for IGRA to do something. So that's what you're seeing here is a resolution with some background and then some resolved elements. And again, that's resolving that we as a body support, or if it's failed, do not support this process. So please read through that, and that's what we're voting on and discussing.
Frank, if you can slowly scroll through the resolution, that would be helpful. And scroll a little bit more, Frank, please. And that's the end. If there are questions, I'd like to entertain questions before we have discussion. So if you have a question, raise your hand. 11 for a question, please.
I just wanted clarification on the state's participation
you want to speak to that, Jonathan? Because he's one.
So I'm not very familiar with the distinction, to be honest. My intent was any rodeo school that was on the schedule as an official rodeo school.
All right, are there other questions? Number 8.
Where will the funds for this scholarship be coming from?
It would be a separate line. It'd be a separate line item within the IGRA budget, to which balance sheet, which would, money would go into fundraising and donation. So, terms and conditions, you can see there included that money would go into fundraising and donation, money cannot be moved out of the fund to cover any other IGRA debt or endeavor.
All right. Now, on the resolution, is there any discussion? Table 11.
I know this is a PDF, but I would recommend taking out the word sanction after a preceding rodeo school. It says that for somebody who's never competed in an IGRA sanctioned rodeo, which is fine, but if it's meant to be any rodeo school on the rodeo calendar, then it should just say IGRA rodeo school. To clarify the difference.
That's easy.
It's a motion, correct? Pause for just a moment. We'll take a break in a moment as soon as we complete this committee report. I was up till about 12:30, helping out a little bit last night, so I don't need a break, I need a nap.
I believe my next door neighbors upstairs were up late as well. I'm not sure what they were doing.
It's in B on the first skyline, yeah.
We need we can't manipulate it.
Okay. These are. Will you send it to him when you put it in Word?
No, I'm trying to, we should probably just take it out, because this is gonna be. Yeah, just take her.
Okay, we're gonna take a 15-minute break. 5 minutes.
We're not ready. Oh, that's what I was just about to tell you. We need
It's too late.
We're already late.
So.
Refreshments already. Yeah, I'll be back to work on this. I can get it done very quickly. I just have to meet my pants. So, jump into the line. Yeah, no, I'm going to my thank you.
And then this is the end.
Now I've got my scanner already. That's what I need.
Hold on, Tom. Oh, I am. I don't have no reason to keep there. I got this.
How so?
Just thought that they were in line, and some people had a lot of discussion.
Oh, meaning some of people's responses
Yes.
and attitudes?
Correct.
It's different. It's a big difference in terms of display power or give something else.
But so many people here don't have it anywhere else. They want it. Can I say that out loud? I don't want it here.
I don't understand. Our testers look up. I
Oh, you little baby.
That's what he was just saying. What? That's what he was just saying. Yeah, it wasn't. I'm not listening to Mark Christian say shit about roads. Okay? Of all people. This is a result of his bullshit. This is not this even has to get things.
Well, and that's fair.
And it's accurate.
This is not
This is not a word format, a word doc.
Can you want me to get the card?
I can alter it. And that's how I sent it. So I'm kind of confused.
Can you take out the word sanctioned?
Yeah.
Just the other
Sorry, I probably should have said that sooner.
We got a lot from you or Mike. So, and I will. You want email or text receipt?
I just got a text receipt, so I don't really need anything to play back.
See, that's a thing that I wish I could do too. I want my printer here. It doesn't have power to get it connected there.
Well, I took my budget on the stick to Scott and out on his machine. And then I took it to the lobby and made copies of copies. But if you just need one copy,
Can I see something without going too far into the rabbit hole? I think I've created Frankenstein's monster. Aldo running for Yellow Rose. I'm telling you, this is his letter to people that is asking for money.
He's serious about it.
Every minute of every day.
are you running?
He is. Aldo. So, anyway.
I donated already.
But it should be quick and simple. Good God, no.
Oh, but he wants his people to know that this is important.
God bless her. Cowboy Frank is just over it. I mean, over the hill. His email Frank, never know. Yes. Can you what? That's not very fair. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not picking up. No, I'm just trying to send this over.
I said, hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm tapping this because I'm getting pissed. So I'm going to stand up and be like, I'll take the blame here because I dropped the ball. But I hate to tell it from vice president of president of rodeo director. So, why would you use the fucking brain scale? And Kenny's like, y'all, insert.
So is this now updated or I'm working? It's not. Yes. This is the one I use. Let me see. X, that's it. Cowboy.
Text. Text the Cowboy Frank. Huh? I have X. Do you want me to send you this, or did you already change it?
No, I was already in the middle of changing it, so I'm just starting to change it. I said I would make a quick rest.
Okay, so I don't need to do anything else?
No, I'm good. I didn't realize it was going to end up in PDF on the things.
And then Frank just kind of schooled me and said, I can't change it because you didn't send it in a Word document.
He's right. But it's okay.
But I was able to manipulate it on mine, so I didn't know any different.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's all right.
With
one taking place and the on the side of that state kind of what happened.
Tell me the things and be specific. Or you can. Nope. Like, was it like small?
people that have
Guy. Guy.
I'm like, this guy's like, let me just say something.
Can you?
It's gonna be
Yeah.
And it reflects, that's what it does, and it reflects. And even when people have been announced, there's only been one left out, and that person different ones that just taking time to make those people feel they're okay. That's the way some of us feel. And I just, I didn't know
But I want to talk more about it. Just to get a little deeper. It's just you. Thank you for trying. We'll talk more about it.
Well, I don't know. I texted you many hours after I just gave you a nice
I'll let you know. We'll talk more later.
Please. Please answer if you wish.
Don't touch the microphone.
Are you trying to rub the butt on
No,
the mic? What
I
are
was
you
gonna
doing?
stand him there. He's going through.
I
I was gonna put him on the podium. I was gonna knock shit off.
Please don't do that. I've already approved for buying tickets. There's $40 goat from Amazon.
Ooh, it's almost as much as a real goat.
Oh, can you?
I was
I
so
don't have my phone. Can you
going
just-
to like pick him up and walk out with
This
him
is-
because I just want to pet him.
Not the 36, right? And then
this is
I just wanted to pet him.
easy.
It's a night. You go to the scout. Baby didn't give you a name. He needs a name. T.
Yeah, exactly.
Go T. Go T. Go T. There you go. Go T. No, I like go T. Like, you want to talk about it? Yeah.
What I'm wondering
You've been about.
is that and I have to change.
They don't want to let it go.
So for 15, put that up. Now I can control it. In the others, that's correct. Doctor.
All right. Let's get this. I know, right?
So yes,
I do want to.
the first I didn't understand. That means you want your
He told me what this was. So I don't know.
Correct. Or
I'm not. Change the audio.
Because we got a point. We can do these.
Couples in the boards.
My room ran, Brian. My room ran.
I have two things. No, I don't. I have to spend.
Time was 10 minutes in advance.
It's time to come back. We're going to go to women's outreach. Oh, no, we finish this first?
This is our last.
We're set. I'm set. Until they throw something else in, I'm set.
They're able to project your direction.
So you know where you are. There's a minimum in a second. I have to look at it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cami Bowles, you're up. Oh, I'm sorry. You're up next. Cami.
And then you're next.
No. Okay, welcome back, everybody. So we're going to complete the resolution. I understand that the resolution is now correctly posted for you to see on the Jumbotron. Is somebody online somewhere?
They changed the microphone as well.
Feedback or something. There's feedback. There's still feedback. There's still feedback.
The one on screen. Yes.
There's feedback.
All right.
That's the change.
Is this mic on?
There's feedback right here.
Is this mic on now?
Where's the other wire? All right, turn it off.
The other one by Chris Coven.
It wasn't to the microphone there.
They switched some cables. Yeah. Just switch it back.
Okay, I think we're back. And now we are voting on the amended resolution.
There was an amendment and a second. Motion to amend in a second. And bacon. No, you can do it. So that's a motion to amend in a second. The amendment is on the screen if he scrolls down.
Okay, so there was a motion to amend and a second, And the amendment is now on the screen. If you scroll down to item B, you'll see that the word sanctioned has been removed. So now we're voting on this amendment, removing the word sanctioned. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The amendment passes. Sanctioned is removed. Now we're going to go back to the resolution itself. You just stay here, Frank. You're good.
Just the top of the document.
If you can refresh the screen for us, Frank, and scroll down. Right to there. Okay. Any further discussion on the resolution? 7.
Dave Hensel and IGRA. I would just make a suggestion that when this becomes official, I would just suggest maybe some limits or guardrails. I would hate for 100 people to show up through rodeo school and just completely eliminate the fund. So maybe some per contestant limits or per rodeo school limits, just to make sure that the fund exists.
10, table 10.
There is one more spot where it says IGRA Convention rodeo, and that's up in the second paragraph. Whereas, motion to amend IGRA.
Can you speak up for us, please?
Yeah, sorry. So there's the second paragraph up top in the whereas in the resolution. Higher up, second paragraph, whereas the scholarship means participation in IGRA sanctioned rodeo school, just say IGRA rodeo school.
Yeah.
We'll include that as secretarial edit as part of the amendment. And if you go ahead and refresh again. Table, was 4? Table 4? Table 1.
Robert Fertel, CJA. Great program, great idea, resolution, fully supported. As far as changing anything, I do have one question and concern, maybe it can be addressed or it needs to be dealt with. Under D, additional terms, conditions, scholarship fund will be financed through fundraising and donations. I'm concerned with number 2. Why are the royalty title holders voting to fund rookie entry in the finals? If somebody could explain why royalty title holders would be one deciding that, use of the scholarship fund.
I'm going to allow Jonathan, table 10, to address this.
While the scholarship started with IGRA, it was the royalty teams of all the associations that ended up donating. And so with there being an excess of funds, originally the idea that we might have an excess of funds for finals, we put it to our team as the fundraisers of this scholarship to make that decision. Not married to it, again, this is a resolution. The final proposal would come next year, and this is just a draft really of how it would be approached in the next year with, of course, gaps and stuff like that being identified for further clarification.
Can we get a refresh and then look at the
Frank, if you could refresh again, please. So here now is the completed resolution. Is there any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. And the resolution is passed. Next, we go to the county goals and women's outreach.
I brought up some ball stroke.
Do you have resolution?
Yeah, it's at the bottom. And Jeffrey said I'll fix that.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. Well, hi, I'm Caitlin Bowles from GPRA, Miss IGRA 2025, and I'm your Women's Outreach Committee Chair. We had 11 in attendance, 10 voting. We opened up and most of our meeting was just talking about how we all got into rodeo and different aspects of what fundraising, what events you could host and do to get more women involved. Some ideas were discussed as far as doing different things in your organization and reaching out to other organizations that are already hosting events. I did. Doing different things around your own local association. We also talked about coming up with a logo for the women's outreach and maybe branding some merchandise towards women and using that to fund putting stuff into contestant bags more branded towards women, because when you get a contestant bag, it's full of condoms, lube, and different things from bars around town, but not a lot of stuff towards women necessarily. Not saying that they don't use those things, but more things like that. Anyways, also talking to all of our associations about putting together a collage to submit to me, and I can put my email up somewhere. But each association picking a collage of photos of not just your women, but women working with men as well, and putting together a women's outreach calendar, and each association would be represented by 1 month. And as well using those funds to either put stuff in contestant bags or sponsor different buckles for associations throughout the year. Other than that, we had one proposal, and you can scroll down to the bottom, just removing, oh, sorry, is that you?
No, you're fine.
Okay. Just removing that we'll have another women's outreach meeting at university. It's a month and a half away, and we don't necessarily need to reconvene right then, and we don't need it written into a rule if we do choose to meet there. So it's just removing that meeting from university.
Any discussion on the proposal? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no, and the proposal passes.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Anthony, social media, are you prepared? I'm going to go a little bit out of order at this time, so that we can maybe take some shorter presentations and get through the rest of the afternoon, and then we'll come back and pick up the big stuff tomorrow.
Good afternoon, everybody.
I'm sorry.
Got it. All right, so we met yesterday in conjunction with the PR and marketing committee. There were a total of 15 people attending, 13 of which were voting members. We kind of discussed the current status of all of IGRA's social media accounts and the importance of social media in today's day and age. The committee also discussed the importance of PR, marketing, and social media all working together. I also want to welcome you all and introduce actually, and welcome Emily as my co-chair going forward in social media. And that is
That's it. Any questions for Anthony before he gets away, or Emily? Thank you, Anthony. All right, Roger Bergman, are you able to present the archives report? And then we'll do contestant liaison as listed. And then Andrew, I'm going to ask you to do IGRA University.
Good afternoon. Yesterday we met in the room. I'm not sure how many we had altogether. I would guess about 15 people. The list is on the report. Basically, we had a couple of new people from IGRA. So I spent most of the time talking about the history of IGRA, history of gay rodeo from Reno and Wayne Giacchino's visit there in 1981, where he was challenged by a Texas drag queen, and went back to Reno the following year with 400 people from Colorado and 40 contestants who managed to get the all-around cowboy and cowgirl in 1982. What some of you may not know, and I did bring this out during the meeting, in 1985, the first four associations, CGRA, TGRA, GSGRA, and Arizona had just formed. Their founding presidents all met in Denver in January of '85. At that meeting, they had a list of proposed rules for the rodeo based on what Colorado was doing. It was an 8.5 by 14 sheet of paper on both sides with very small font, but that was the rule book. And at the top of that page, it said National Gay Rodeo Association. That's the only piece of paper in our history that shows that the intent originally in January of '85 was to create a national rodeo association with 4 regional rodeos going back to the National Reno Gay Rodeo for the finals every year. GSGRA had its first rodeo in March of that year, and Colorado had its 3rd rodeo. By that time, they had found out that the Reno rodeo was canceled. So when we went to September convention, all the paperwork said international. Let's go big. It took a couple of years, and then British Columbia joined Northwest. They only lasted a couple of years, and then we were happy to have Calgary, Alberta join as the Alberta Rockies Gay Rodeo after the first year. Some of you also may not know that originally Alberta came in as IGRA. There was nothing in the bylaws about acronyms, but we had a conflict between Arizona and Alberta was kind enough to change their name to Alberta Rockies. So we then put the rule in about acronyms, so we never had the problem again. Basically, that's all I did, and I talked and talked and talked, like I always do when I start talking about old things, not to mention anybody specifically in here. But I overdid my time and forgot to do the Hall of Fame report. So we met this morning, and I'll talk about that at another time. Any questions?
Any questions for Roger? Thank you, Roger. Okay, next up is going to be contestant liaison.
Hi, I'm David Lawson. I'm the committee chair for the Contestant Liaison Committee. We met and had 11 people at the meeting, and I would like to thank everyone who came. No actionable items come to the convention floor from this committee. We held a roundtable discussion during our meeting time. The job description of the contestant liaisons, as it is written in the IGRA rulebook, was provided. We also covered how it is determined who will be contestant liaison for individual rodeos and what it means to be an experienced competitor in regard to this position. Further description of the position was provided with examples of what the contestant liaison is not. I personally would like to thank you all for the support I have received as contestant liaison for a lot of years. I would like to thank Janet Stange, Daniel Bryson, Wade Earp, and Candy Pratt for filling the contestant liaison role throughout the rodeo season. I think I have a typo here, but I'd like to thank the Skittles, most especially Tim Smith, with whom I have had the pleasure to work to produce rodeos. We have made great strides in increasing the production value and evaluating and elevating the contestant experience at these events. The best definition I can give you of contestant liaison is a conduit between contestants and all those people involved in putting on a rodeo. I believe in this position, and I appreciate the many people who believe in me. I ask you to move forward knowing that each and every person in this room has the opportunity to mentor members of this great organization. It doesn't take a title or a position to be helpful, beneficial member of our organization. There is plenty for everyone to do, and all of the work is equally as important. I do think that there is there's often like kind of a problem that people have with contestant liaison, because they think that the stuff that we as contestant liaisons do outside of our job is because we are a contestant liaison. So I would just like to provide an example. If I lead a horse into the arena, that has nothing to do with me being a contestant liaison. If I cheer for or coach somebody, that has nothing to do with me being a contestant liaison. Every person in this room, if you know somebody that needs a little bit of help, or needs a little bit of coaching, or needs a little bit of mentoring, you do not need to be the contestant liaison. Go ahead, reach out, do that. It has nothing to do with the contestant liaison, the extra things that people do for the people in this association. And there are things that get done in this association that are not for the association, they're for the people, and that is also okay. 2 years in a row, people have come for this position. Let's get rid of this, it's too much, whatever. And they're not coming for this position because they don't believe in the position. They're coming for this position because they don't like me. And if you don't like me, fine. That does not have anything to do with the contestant liaison. Many, many times in our association, we have new people that come in, they get positions, they come in, and then they get a position, they're here for a couple years, and they're gone. And then the next time, another new person comes in. So maybe right now, at this minute, contestant liaison isn't necessarily needed. Give it a couple years, get some new people in here, you might still want this position, even if it isn't me in that position. Don't eliminate something that works because you don't like who's in there now. Because guess what? They're not going to always be there.
Thank you, David. Any questions for David?
I don't have a question, but I would like to say, David, thank you for being our leader. You helped everybody, and I saw them having issues. You were there. Thank you so much for being there for us.
All right, next up is going to be IGRA University. Andrew Goodman.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I would like to start and talk a little bit about what we did yesterday, our committee meeting, and then provide some information about university this year. Let me just say before we get started that I've been very fortunate to this year, kind of leading up to this week when we meet with a larger group of people, to be working with Jeffrey Neal and Brian Helander. We have been able to be efficient and have gotten a lot of work done in a short amount of time. And one of my favorite things is that when one of these two gentlemen say they'll do something, they do it. And it happens pretty quickly. So I appreciate you both. Yesterday, I hope I spelled everybody's name right, but some of you write like serial killers, and I can't always get through it. It's been a long time since I've been a fourth grade teacher. So at any rate, right here. There aren't any action items in this report, but the first thing that we did was we talked about university this year. And we are fortunate, again, to be partnering with the Sin City Classic, which is the largest LGBTQ sports event that happens in this country. And it's a place where we should be, and they want us to be there. And these big guys right here are going with us this year to the gala on Friday night. So there's no way that they're going to miss us. And at any rate, we have the gala on Friday night, and then on Saturday, one of the things that I struggle with as chancellor sometimes is figuring out how do we change things up every year and keep kind of spiraling through some things that we know need to happen, but still make it relevant for the time that we're in. And so on the back, you probably have one of these cards at your table. On the back is a list of the classes. You have to flip the weird way, like this way, like a rodeo badge. That was an accident. But we're going to start on Saturday. We'll have 2 classes running simultaneously. And we're going to start with some of the great work that Charlie Colella has done at corporate sponsorships. He's going to share a little bit about what he's learned, some of his success stories, and I think maybe some of the mistakes that were learned along the way and how he turned those into successes. We're also going to have Doug talk about some unique fundraising ways, fundraisers that are happening in Nevada with other parts of the sports community that are not happening in gay bars. And we're really excited to have him teach for us. David Lawson is going to talk about troubleshooting for a successful rodeo. So we do have some of those kinds of things in there. We also have a certification session that is part of our bylaws that we have one every year at university. And that's going to be led by Guy Puglisi. And then if you took the time at finals, and I know most of you are working finals or competing at finals or preparing your royalty package for finals, but if you took the time to look at the program for World Gay Rodeo Finals, it was beautiful. And God, the older I get, I can't help it. But Celia in New Mexico, thank you. Celia in Mexico is really great at using Canva. And Canva is a free tool, and of course it has a paid version, but it is a free tool that she uses to make event posters like this and that program from World Gay Rodeo Finals and the program from the Santa Fe Rodeo. And so we're going to have her lead a workshop because I'm going to tell you, some of our rodeo advertisements need work. Our posters need work. She has been gracious enough to lead a hands-on workshop. So if you've got somebody young who has an eye for this kind of thing, spending an afternoon with her is probably going to be a wise way to use your time. So that's one of the new things we're offering for folks this year, along with a condensed royalty program. This royalty program is going to be led by Michael. I might help a little bit, but it is really intended for your association royalty, not for this year's IGRA royalty. You all are welcome to come as experts and leaders, but we would really like the opportunity to spend some time helping your royalty prepare in January for what's happening in the fall, so it's not a surprise at the last minute. So we're going to be having a royalty session too. I'm really excited about Sunday because Sunday we're going to start our morning. One of the things that I know at my university that we're facing is issues with our legislature in beautiful red state Utah about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And my university had to eliminate that office as a result of state law, and they just renamed it and keep doing what they're doing. So one of the things that I think is important for us that came from our little committee was spending some time on DEI-related issues that might impact you at a local level as someone who supports a gay event. So if you're interested in that, we're going to have somebody from the corporate world come and talk about that, not one of us, who probably knows a lot more about that side of it than we do from being on the other side of it, I think. If you have not read this book, I'm not going to give you an assignment, but if you have not read this book that Nick Villanueva wrote, it's called The Rainbow Cattle Company, and I borrowed this from the alumni table, but he gave me a copy at World Gay Rodeo Finals, and I read it from cover to cover. And there are a lot of things I love about it, but I think for many people in this room, you will see yourself in this book over and over and over again. And a lot of people that you know are in this book, a lot. And it talks about kind of the connection between the growth of gay rodeo and what was going on socially in communities, especially in the 80s, and how that picture for the development of IGRA over time has changed to meet the needs of the communities in which we serve. So Nick is going to come, and I'm going to pretend like I'm Oprah, and we're going to have a book talk about some of his favorite things and some of my favorite things from this book, and I would encourage you, if you haven't, to check it out. We're also going to be doing a session on artificial intelligence, and this is mostly for Tommy and for Mark Arnold, because I find myself doing a lot of their work because I know how to use AI. And so we're going to, it's a beginner level class, and I know that a lot of you use AI for your work, and you use it far better than I do, I'm sure. But if you have questions about it, or how you can change a sponsorship letter, or how you can improve something, a paragraph on your website or something like that, AI is a great place to get some tips. I tell my students it's not the end point, but it's a good way to get started. It helps you get unstuck, I think, a lot of times. And I know we're on a time crunch, but Mark Arnold's going to lead the last session on Sunday, and we're going to have a panel thinking about the next 50 years of gay rodeo. So that's all coming up. We have a couple more things about university to tell you. The hotels are the Flamingo, which is where university will be, the Horseshoe Casino, which is the former Bally's, and the Link. All three out of those 4 hotels are, or two of those three are next to each other, as you know. So all of our events are going to be happening in the Flamingo. If you use the sincityclassic.org website, you can get their room right there. And as your sport, if you type in rodeo, we get a $5 kickback on every room night that's booked that comes back to us at some point in the year. You know how it is. So, but we did receive that kickback from them last year as well. And we're very, very fortunate to be able to partner with them because they give us the space for free. They let us use the space that they have earned through all of these 10,000 gay athletes converging on Las Vegas for free. So it's really too good of a deal to be true. All the course descriptions are published on IGRA.com. We have 10 scholarships available for people. You guys don't know this, so surprise. We have 10 scholarships available for people who have not been to university before, and it's only $25. That's the cost to register. So we would love for you to send some of your new folks who might want to learn a thing or two about rodeo to the event. A couple of other things, if you'll, yeah, a couple of other things. One of the things that I really wanted to do is work with the vice president and through our committee to bring dance back a little bit at a time. And one of the things that we're going to attempt to do, and I think I've talked to everybody in these 4 associations, if not, forgive me, I'll get to you, I'll find you. But we're going to, university is going to set up some sort of little mini dance clinic at 4 smaller association rodeos across the year as we lead up to the 50th anniversary, where we're going to have a big dance group joining us. So we're hoping that that can lead into a larger dance presence, much like what it used to be at IGRA. Many of us remember what that was like. The second thing that, I don't know why I'm looking up there. The second thing is, after reading this book, even before reading this book, I think that we need to develop a podcast. And I think it is something that IGRA University should do in working with marketing and some other folks and Rogers Committee and the alumni, and maybe 10 sessions that lead up to the anniversary of 50 years in the fall. So we're, cross fingers for us, say a prayer, because we're going to try to make that happen, and we're going to do the best we can to keep working and fighting the good fight and all those kinds of things. And I already thanked these 2 folks, but I'd also like to thank my normal squad. You know who they are, because they have a big part in helping put this together and keep me from jumping off the top of the building and that kind of thing. So any questions for me? I think that's it.
Any questions for Andrew or Jeffrey? And Jeffrey, thank you for all the work you do on this too, both of you.
Okay.
No questions?
Let's go to the bar.
Just FYI, the room block is open on sincityclassic.org hotels. You can get your, and the registration is open and available on the IGRA store. It's going to be a fun event. We had a great time last year. Be there. 10,000 athletes, and they love having us. I've got just going to tell you that. They really enjoy having us at that event. Next up is going to be Dave Hensel with Information Technology, and Mark Christensen, Health and Safety, will come up shortly also.
Deep breaths. I am giving this report because Brian saw that I was taking notes, and I became the member at large for the report. The IT committee, ad hoc committee, discussed several IT issues, both at the IGRA level and at the association level. Can we get? Several of the topics were IT, general IT for associations, the IGRA website, and the rodeo management system. For member associations, we discussed some technologies around member database and managing members. Many people in the room had expressed a desire to identify collaboration tools, such as Microsoft Teams, that could be used within the oh, the irony.
Now we're in trouble. So IT people, what is all this about?
Not found. Can we get somebody from?
Dave, you broke it.
Sorry. I just wanted more attention on me.
And he said he was nervous talking in front of the crowd, so.
So you get no notes. I mean, I brought mine. All right. Jonathan Roman had expressed some concerns around data governance and ensuring that we're aware of all of our sources of data, the security of that data, and where it's stored. As an IT security professional, I agree with him. The IGRA website was discussed with efforts to modernize, same discussion that usually happens. The remaining time was spent discussing RMS, the rodeo management system. Brian Helander provided updates on the current status, and I believe you have an entire check. We discussed the contestant registration module that's been in service for several months now. It started with a few bugs. That seems to be worked out. Contestants in the room have indicated that the registration process is very smooth. Work on the admin module, which allows us to create and set up the individual rodeos, aside from involving a third party, has been completed. The 3 IGRA auditors have credentials for being able to do this work. Additional enhancements to the RMS system were discussed, including ways to easily populate contestants by name or number for events like Wild Drag instead of having to manually fill out long forms. We also discussed having paperwork in a PDF format that could be filled out easier. These are possible, but are additional features and will be added with consideration of time and budget. Brian expressed a desire to have a project manager to take over the responsibilities of this project. Anybody's, I'm towards the bottom now. The committee had no items to vote on, and I do not have a roll sheet. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you, David. That was your first presentation to the convention floor, correct? You did a wonderful job. What's that? I did have one. I can't find it. Sorry. All right. Next is going to be Mark Christensen, Health and Safety.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark Christensen. I'm the trustee for IGRA. We had 12 members in our health and safety. They will bring that up. One of the things that we went and talked about was when we had the board meeting, we actually have a new health and an EAP, which is an emergency action plan. And if any association needs help with an emergency action plan, get a hold of us and we will actually help you out with an emergency action plan. It's a part of your pre-rodeo setup, and we actually have a one that is kind of like a template for you if you want to use it. We have two proposals to bring in front of the group. If you will bring up the first one, please. Yes, sir. Please.
So this is proposal HS01 from the Health and Safety Committee. And I'll give you a minute to digest this change. Is there any discussion? Yeah, table 2.
It's gonna be more just a Benjamin question, because we voted on that other, that doesn't affect that, right? About having an officer do it.
Hang on, let's get you a microphone, please.
Tim Smith, TGRA. So earlier we voted on the one where we were gonna, the officer could actually do one of these, but this, so we're gonna get, if we leave the word trustee here, is that a problem? I don't know, because we already voted on that other one. I don't know if it's conflict of the other one that we passed.
Table 15.
IGRA. It should not, because that prior one gave the trustees the right to appoint that officer in that role.
Okay, that's true. Okay.
Table 13.
Sam in Red River. I just have a question, because it starts right in the middle here. What meeting is this actually speaking of? If you can tell us, Mark, what meeting it's talking about, but it says under the direction of the rodeo secretary.
Is that in the wrong place? It's supposed to be one section, it's under section.
Yeah, Robert, Bill. Yeah, because that's under section 4, Robert.
Table 1.
You had a question for the chair that just happened.
Where at? From Sammy.
Yeah, Sammy.
We're trying to sort that out,
Just
Sammy.
for some clarification here, when this came from their committee, came to rodeo rules, we ended up trying to put together what they said. What they're trying to do is everything, there's just a rodeo trustee. No safety trustee, no rodeo review trustee, just a rodeo trustee. So we highlighted that, and it would become editorial everywhere else that the term rodeo checklist somewhere comes on, if that's correct.
That is correct, yes, sir. That is correct.
Table 10.
Michael Linton, State's Jury Association. So this proposal is to get rid of the designation of multiple positions.
2
correct?
positions. 2.
Okay, and you're getting rid of which one? That's the thing that's not clear.
We're consolidating, we're actually consolidating the health and safety, the review officer into one person.
So review plus health and safety.
Right.
So we'll still have the
Checklist.
separate.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it'll make it into the rodeo trustee.
So, okay, so, all right, if that's true, then I don't see the rest of this proposal, which is the other parts of our documents that will be changed. So that should have been checked for consistency and corrected. So I think this probably needs to be fixed before we vote on it, because you got a chunk of stuff missing from this proposal.
We're going to send this proposal back to the committee for clarification. All right, Mark, we're going to send this back to the committee for clarification, but you do have a second proposal, is that correct? You have a second proposal?
Yes, I have a second proposal.
All right, here's the second proposal from the Health and Safety Committee.
This was actually,
Okay, table 10.
John Roman, Safety Rodeo Association. Was this written as if HS 01 would be passed, it said rodeo could be here?
Yes.
Okay. So then does this one also need to get fixed pending?
well, this is really interesting. But
Table 10. I'm sorry, 7.
Dave Hensel and IGRA, to Jonathan's point, yes, this followed the previous one, so it assumed the previous one would be accepted, so I think rodeo trustee, for the time being, should be rodeo checklist trustee. But also the background of this is just to bring it into the rules. It's in other places, it's just to make it easier to find all of this information, so none of this is new, it's just making it easier to find. As I understand it.
So I'm going to send both of these proposals back to the committee for some further clarification. Nope. Hang on one second.
It's an existing document that's moved from one area to another.
Say rodeo trustee, that's not a rodeo. Rodeo trustee.
Okay, next up is, we're just going to do a couple more. We're going to get to almost 4 o'clock and we'll be done. If I could have the Secret Museum Project Committee come up. Roger Bergman and Jack Morgan.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Long day. Secret Museum, I don't know if that's necessarily the technical name, but it is an unnamed American History Museum in Washington, D.C. right now. The museum can actually be named once we have the donation of the gift and our donation actually on site. So as I go through this, that will kind of explain that. The World Gay Pride and Special Events Museum Committee met on Friday. There was 17 persons in attendance, 12 of which were voting. The committee had very robust discussion on several topics, and we reviewed the work that's been ongoing since last convention on the projects. This committee has been formed about a little over a year, almost a year and a half ago, and have met regularly, both with the committee members, and I'd like to especially thank Michael Lentz, Roger Bergman, and Brian Helander for their work on the committee. It's been quite extensive. And we meet with the curator of the museum on a regular basis and the archivist. And we had a lot of discussion about this. So this is really 2 events. The first one is the museum project. The second is World Pride. So let me talk about the museum project first. As I said, we have established what the donations of our archives going into the museum will be. We waited until after this convention when we'll be sending all of the materials to the museum and anticipate that by the end of the year. Once the museum has received the materials and we have the donation gift letter signed, then we can announce that. That will correlate with an activity that we're going to propose at World Gate Pride as well. Back up here. So the committee is requesting, or the committee is requesting that each association, if at all possible, consider a donation up to $500 to help sponsor these events, if you can. Send that to IGRA, they can earmark it for the museum and World Gay Pride. The committee determined additional roles because this is going to be a very extensive event of World Pride along with the museum project. So we identified some individuals to take on key responsibilities. The Pride Committee liaison between the local Pride event organizers of World Pride and our affiliation of International Gay Rodeo is going to be Mike Lentz. The volunteer coordinator will be Jonathan Roman. Social media, Emily and Anthony. Hospitality, Tracy. Sponsorship, Butch Compton. The committee also identified 4 additional kind of areas of expertise that need focus. One of those is the festival decorations, the parade and float decorations, festival activities, and merchandising. The committee is asking for a t-shirt and poster design contest with designs submitted by December 31st of this year, and then we'll meet as a committee and decide the winning designs by the end of January to be announced the first week in February. You can send those directly to me or to the IGRA secretary. Doesn't know I just volunteered him, and he can get those to the committee for that. We have secured for World Pride, which will be May 25th through June 9th. The portion of that that's important to IGRA is particularly June 5th, June 4th, but June 5th through June 9th, we have secured a room block of 30 rooms that we negotiated about a year ago. It's at the Hyatt Regency on Capitol Hill, which is just about a block down from where the Capitol. That's where the activities are going to be for World Pride. That's a very extensive 2-week celebration. The $299, I know that sounds expensive. However, that same room right now currently is close to $1,000. It's only going to go up. The Pride Committee, both locally in DC and World Pride, has taken pretty much all of the rooms that are available. We do have one time in about the next 3 weeks, if we fill that up, to extend that room block. Anthony is going to put that, I wanted to have, if you look in the files, you'll see the link to the hotel if you want to go ahead and book it. Like I said, there's about 25 available right now. I wanted to give people in this room an opportunity to click on that link and participate first. And then at the end of the day, Anthony's going to share that on our social media sites too. So I do anticipate it going quickly. In addition to what we're doing, IGRA, as Andrew alluded to earlier, is going to be having a couple days of dance celebrations. So the important dates for that are going to be Wednesday, the 4th, and the 5th, Thursday. That's the 2 days IGRA is going to do some dance. Friday, the 6th, is when we're going to try to do a celebration with the museum, going in and having the archives come out as well. So it will be at the museum is what we're anticipating. Then Saturday will be the actual parade, and Sunday will be the festival. So hopefully everybody would like to join us in DC for this incredible celebration. The shirt, most of you, I'm sure, saw yesterday that I had it on. The blue shirt with the 50-year logo, Road to 50 Years, and the IGRA patch and IGRA in the back will be the official shirt for the committee decided for World Gay Pride. Those of you that were, who went to Gay Games in 2014? Yeah, it was an incredible experience. And it was very impactful during the opening ceremonies, throughout the parade, and then in closing ceremonies with, I don't know, we had a couple hundred red shirts and white hats. It's a very, very impactful. So hopefully everybody likes the color. I think everybody looks good in blue. Committee agrees, so hopefully you enjoy the shirt. We can order these directly from Jean as well. That's the majority of what I have for you in a nutshell. There's more to come and more. The progress will continue. The committee has worked hard up to this point. We'll be meeting weekly or bi-weekly going into the following year, and a lot of information will be coming on Gay Pride. Respectfully submitted as the chairman. of the Pride and Special Events Committee, and I get very nervous. Any questions?
Did a great job. Any questions for Jack? Thank you, Jack. It's going to be a really fun event. It's not obviously a rodeo event, but it's going to be a very fun event. Table 9. Go ahead.
Do you have any idea how many volunteers that you're going to need for this project?
Jack,
At least one.
at least 20 to 25 volunteers. Are there other questions for Jack? Seeing none? Okay, let's see. Next. Roger, are you ready with Hall of Fame at this point?
Before you send everyone away for tonight's performers in the ballot, so before that, so we can get with the TJ.
Would you like to say that?
Sure. After he's done.
Good afternoon. As I said earlier on the archives report, I just talked and talked and talked. So my apologies to the people that did want to talk about Hall of Fame, and thank you for waiting and meeting with me this morning at 9 o'clock. There were 5 people that did have some questions. Usually Hall of Fame goes pretty quickly, but as it turns out, the questions were pretty much the same as every year. We're going to start by just taking you to the IGRA.com website. And when you get here, go to where the Hall of Fame link is. When you click on that, it brings you to the Hall of Fame page. And at the very top, you'll see the standing rule, which is the existing standing rule if you want to read the page and a little bit more about the whole process. But right below that is a PDF version of the form and a Microsoft version of the form. If you want to print out the PDF and mail it in, you can do that, or you can move to Microsoft, download it, fill it out online, and send it in that way. Now, this is for our secretarial staff right now. It is not any kind of thing that needs to be voted on, but there's an editorial mistake in the form. It still talks about the administrative assistant, and that needs to be changed to executive officer. Also, currently, I think this is the only place that the form is available online, and we should make sure that the form also gets put with the IGRA forms, just in case people go there instead of to this location. We want to make sure they can find it. So when you fill out the form, anyone can fill it out who is a member of a current association or a recognized association. And the person you nominate does not have to be a member of a member association. They don't ever have to have been. You can, as long as they meet the requirements for what it talks about. Go back up to the top of the, or into the form itself, the standing rule, excuse me, standing rules. And go down to where it talks about requirements, or no, nominating, yeah, requirements, number 3. I'll go up to number 3. A little farther. Okay, requirements for nomination. Each nominee must have substantially advanced the development and growth of gay rodeo, or have accrued an outstanding record or achieved a prominent position in the sport. That's what we're looking for the individual that's going to be nominated. One of the people in our Hall of Fame is Phil Ragsdale, who started gay rodeo in Reno. I do not believe he ever became a member of CGRA, but he is in our Hall of Fame. So he was never a member of any association, but he did certainly a lot to establish gay rodeo. Another person, I do believe Clarence Bates was a member of OGRA, but he was mainly a stock contractor, did an awful lot of work, and he's also in the Hall of Fame. But you might find somebody else who is not a member, but they did do a lot. It might be a stock contractor. Again, maybe they're not a member, but if you feel they've done a lot to help with rodeo, that's somebody you might want to nominate. So that's pretty much, about the rest of the, going to the report now, Frank. Some of the questions they had were, once someone is nominated, do we ever take them out of the pool? The answer is no. Once we receive a nomination, it stays in that pool forever until they become an inductee, and then they'll become out of that pool. We keep everybody's name secret, mainly because if someone is nominated and there's a whole list out there that everybody can see, and they don't, being nominated does not guarantee they'll ever get into the Hall of Fame. And it can be an embarrassment to someone if everyone knows they're on the list, but they're never going to be inducted. So that's why we don't release the names. But once they're nominated, that nomination stays there every year for the committee to look at. And good place to, if you don't know who you might want to nominate, if you go to the gayrodeohistory.org website and look at some of the rodeo programs, past rodeo programs, especially for your own association, but you can nominate someone from any association. But if you look through those programs, you'll see names over and over and over from one rodeo year to the next, and you might see them from one rodeo association to another, working at rodeos across the country. It never hurts to say, hey, they've done a lot. They're not in the Hall of Fame yet. I think I'll nominate them. Does anyone have any questions?
Table NGRA.
11.
11, table 11.
One thing that I would also recommend, if you've nominated, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you've nominated someone and there hasn't seemed to be any traction, it is possible for you to continue or update the nomination that you submitted, right? If someone has continued to be active, they can have their form updated and maybe be reconsidered based on some of the things they've done since they were nominated the first time. True?
That is true. We try to get as much information as we can. Sometimes some of the nomination forms we get have less than a sentence. And I do a lot of research. If I know that person's name personally and what association they were with, I can find out a lot of information myself by going to the old rodeo programs. I also have access to score sheets back until 1985 at least. So I can see how contestants did. Also have information about IGRA awards, whether they got an international, a trustee, that type of award. So I can find out a lot of information. We certainly appreciate it. The more information you can put on that form, the more it helps the entire committee. But yes, if you nominated somebody, you can ask the committee chair, and you don't necessarily have to do another nomination. You can simply send in more information about that individual. Or if somebody else nominates them without knowing that they've been nominated, multiple nominations for someone indicates that there might be a lot of people thinking they need to be in the Hall of Fame, and that might sway the committee.
Other questions? Thank you, Roger. What a great job.
Roger.
So we are about, I would say about 80% of the way through our business. I'm going to end the session for today. I've got a couple of announcements. I'd like to really end the day on a very positive note. As you know, tomorrow you'll hear a little bit more about the alumni from Mark Arnold. But this is a very important project for the organization. When outside sponsors, organizations look at us. They look to see how well we're supporting ourselves in many ways. They don't want to just be the only ones contributing to our success. They want to see some internal support also. So the alumni is a very important project for us. And just today, we have received some commitments from a number of individuals to join the alumni. There's a commitment. Judy Munson, Pierre Cadu, Jack Morgan, Boogie and Chicken Nugget, and Charlie Colella have all made a commitment today. So thank you all. Thank you for that commitment. You'll hear more about this effort tomorrow, and we'll go from there. Now, a couple of announcements. Michael Bruman needs to meet with the performers in tonight's gala lineup. Please see Michael before you leave today. We will start at 9:30 tomorrow morning, again in this room. Hall of Fame reception will be in this room tonight, starting at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. And that's it for today. Thank you all so much. Yes, hang on.
Is offering 2 free drinks from 5:30 to 7.
Yeah, go get the free drinks tomorrow, or that's from 5 to 7, and then come. And then I've got one more announcement, if you don't mind. We'd like to take a convention photo of all the conventioneers on the main staircase in the lobby at the first break tomorrow morning. So don't forget. Any other announcements from the floor? Okay, hang on 1 second. Hang on. One at a time. Roger, go ahead.
I thought Tommy was going to do it, but he might have forgotten. We will have hot hors d'oeuvres tonight, but it's not a substitute for your dinner. Since the order has been placed several weeks ago, more people have registered for this and will be at the party. So don't take more than 3 or 4 items. If there's food like after everyone has gotten through, you should certainly go back.
All right. Tommy?
It's on.
It's on.
Thank you for that, Robert. Just a reminder, a really quick reminder, take all your personal items with you, so that this one will be totally struck. All your papers will be gone in about 30 minutes. And reset for the dinner, not the dinner, for the party tonight. And let me tell you, don't miss it. We have an incredible night planned for all of you tonight.
Thank you all.
There may be an opportunity coming up, I'm just finding out about it, but World Gay Games 2030 is going to be on. I would like to get some having somebody in seat at the table. We haven't landed the bid yet, we just started, but I would like to have somebody.
Just so you know, I've already been in contact with them, and I've referred them to CTRA as the local association. I think it was Jack at the time that request came to me, that I went to Jack, so Jack will be able to know. Robert, you two will know, probably Robert. Will know.
I'm working on getting Jack back.
Yeah. Robert probably knows where we're at, because I turned him right over to we will help. That lady right there, Judy, she was involved in
when we were in Florida.
Yep.
Chuck.
What's that? Why? Because they don't play it. Well, it's not.
Well, here, I have to do my presentation because I want to show all the media stuff. Including the video. And to lead into our. I need to get it on the paper.
Okay, it's not a big deal, but that would be great because it all ties together.
This whole
No, the state is saying they're gonna cover, they're gonna